Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. This is the third session of the series of webinar A Pranzo con il NIC from the Northern Italy chapter. This is Francesco Librandi speaking, PMI NIC volunteer and Branch Friuli Venezia Giulia Deputy Director. Today we have some news for the webinar. The webinar, as you see, is in English today because we have an international speaker. And also we will have polls. So we want you to be interacting with us and giving your view about some question that the speaker will be raising to you. Let me introduce now our speaker today. It's Simona Bonghez. She is author and international speaker. She is director of a consulting company specialized in project management services. She is involved in change projects, especially in those that focus on implementing new and more efficient ways of managing projects and programs. She is passionate about serious game. She has developed and launched a project management board game, and she is currently involved in the development of 2 other games that will transform the way we learn project management. So about this webinar, we will have the question at the end, if time permits. Otherwise, we will take all the question offline and we will let you, we will provide you the answer afterwards. And now let me hand over to Simona. Simona, this is your time.
Thank you, Francesco. Good afternoon to all of you, Italian friends. I might say friends because I have so many friends in Italy and especially within the PMI Northern Italy chapter. You should know that we have actually 2 webinars, today and tomorrow. And today is the first and introductory part to this webinar, and we will finish tomorrow with actually the more interesting part. So, but for now, let me start with a story. It happened to me more than 15 years ago. I was already at the time an experienced project management practitioner. And I was headhunted for a project manager position for a multinational company. I was extremely proud of myself. First of all, because of landing to that job. And secondly, to that company. At that time, it was ranked as second on the list of the best company to work for. So I was, believe me, I was so proud. I bragged about this to all my friends and acquaintances, to everyone. One of my first responsibilities in this job was to prepare a proposal for a client. I had to define a solution, to find the best way to implement it, to estimate the resources, the duration, the cost, you know, to draft a project plan. And I remember as it was yesterday, I was at the office in front of my computer and I received the confirmation from the client. Our proposal was accepted. Can you imagine how proud I was? Wow, I was so happy. And while I was looking to the email, my boss called me and he wanted to congratulate. So it was everything perfect. While I was talking with him, I opened the Excel spreadsheet with the estimation. And then suddenly the earth stopped moving around. I just realized that for a particular service in my table, the total price was equal with the unit price. So just imagine, the total price was equal with the unit price although the number of units was certainly different than 1. It was an error, a big one. And just to give you an idea, the missing amount was at the level of my salary for a year. The first thought that popped in my mind was, I don't have the money. I freaked out. I bubbled something to my boss at the phone. I said, we need to talk about this. He confirmed that he's going to be in the office in 2 hours, and then we can talk. So just imagine, I had 2 hours to figure out what to do and what to say, because it was clear to me that I messed it up in my very first month. What can I do? I do not have the money. And then it struck me. He is going to fire me. Fired me. Impossible. I cannot allow you. My ego really hurt. I better resign. Yes, that's it. I will resign. So, as you can expect, I wrote my resignation. I printed it out. I prepared for the meeting with my boss. But the most important part, the resignation, was done. So indeed, he arrived after 2 hours, and I told him about the mistake. So we started a discussion about what can we do. We even called the client asking for a meeting. So in around 1 hour, we went through different scenarios. We ended up having a couple of solutions to deal with the problem. Nothing about me being fired. So I started feeling quite uncomfortable about not having the chance to hand over triumphant my resignation. So seeing that the meeting is over, I asked, what about me? What about you? He asked me. Well, don't you fire me? And then to my very surprise, he said, I just spent quite an amount on your education. Why on the earth would I want to fire you? To spend this amount with someone else again? Will you repeat this kind of mistake? And I swear to you that even today, I always double check the total column in my calculation. And since then, I realized in many, many occasions that we learn much more from our failures. It somehow sticks to our mind, and we remember much easier the lessons learned from it. Of course, only if we become aware of them. So a moment of reflection, definitely it's required. So although the title of my presentation is Lessons Learned from Successes and Failures, you will see that I will insist more on the later. We do have 3 major topics to go through today. Actually, today and tomorrow. Because today we'll talk about a slight introduction to when and why do we need Agile. And then on the second part, this is a spoiler alert. It won't be any one-size-fits-all solution, but we will explain why do we have this differentiation between the possible solution. And tomorrow, I told you that tomorrow is going to be the much nicer and interesting part. I will give you some examples. So there are going to be different levels, and clearly I will refer to some of the companies. I will name some of them. For some of them, I won't be able to give you the names, but I will definitely describe what happened to those companies and why did they succeed or not with their Agile journey. So, ready to move on? I hope that you are ready. And Francesco, can I have some help here? I would like to launch the first poll, just to have an idea, how familiar are you with the Agile approach? And I see that Francesco opened the poll and some of you already answered. Thank you so much. Now I know for sure that you are there. Okay, and we have some of the results. It goes very well. I see that most of you so far, you are familiar with the Agile concept. I will allow you around 1 minute just to give the opportunity to everyone to answer. And this was just for you to experience how to use the poll. The next question is going to be more complicated, but we still have a few minutes till then. Okay, I think that we can now close, and I can share with you that we have the vast majority, 57% of you are familiar with Agile concepts. We have even some Agile coaches here, only 5%. Many of you working in Agile framework, and we have 3% who are not really familiar with Agile, or you just want to joke with me. Go. Okay, thank you so much. It allows me to somehow customize the speech. We move forward because definitely I wanted to ask you if you know about the first paper that was issued in 1970s by a gentleman called Mr. Winston Royce. And he was the first one who wrote about a waterfall approach. And now there is just a question without polling for you. Do you know for which industry did Mr. Winston Royce describe the waterfall approach? He was not encouraging people to work according to waterfall, but he really described it, and he showed some of the strengths and the weaknesses of the approach. So any idea which was the industry that the gentleman described? The first paper about waterfall. And it was not it was not construction, it was not manufacturing, it was not automotive, but it was software development. And actually my point is that if in 1970 waterfall was described for software development industry, for the IT industry, and then spread out to the whole industries in this world, why cannot we do the same thing with Agile? Agile was described for the software development, so wouldn't be possible to apply Agile in the other part of in other industries as well? Now, there is, of course, there is a huge difference between waterfall and Agile. I just wanted to show you that in terms of how do we plan our work and how to we execute our work, the Agile approach is actually taking the whole cycle, the whole project's life cycle from waterfall, squeezing in an iteration, and then of course that we need to have at the end of each iteration some valuable result to hand over to our client. I'm not I'm not insisting on the value of Agile or the value of Waterfall. I would like, however, to show you my screen. And I think that you can see now 4 images which show 4 different paths or roads. Now, my question for you, can you use the same transportation device on each of these? Of course not. Although someone can use the bicycle on the railway, but it's not really recommendable. And actually, this is the whole idea, that if we have different type of projects and different context in which those projects are implemented, we need to find out the right approach for the right project. In some cases, Waterfall could be the best idea. In some cases, Agile would be the best idea. Now, considering the very fast-paced world that we are living in, more and more companies are considering the Agile implementation. And there is clearly a differentiation when we talk about Agile implementation. We can have an Agile adoption or an Agile transformation. And I wanted just to tell you just 2 words about the difference between Agile adoption and Agile transformation. Agile adoption is when you want to improve something in your way of working. So, for example, you would like to be able to prepare a coffee, and you learn how to prepare a coffee. And if a decent coffee is everything that you need, then Agile adoption is the answer for you. So, considering, of course, the metaphor. Sometimes we only want to improve some of the ways that we are working, and therefore adopting some of the tools and techniques or ceremonies and artifacts from Agile would be really enough. But sometimes we want more than that. We would like to really change our mindset. So you want to not only to prepare a decent coffee, but you want to become a barista. And this is the Agile transformation. And this is the power of the Agile transformation. You not only borrow some of the tools and techniques, you change the mindset, the whole mindset of you, your team, and your company. And in the following minutes, we are talking about not simple adoption, but about Agile transformation. So think about it as becoming a barista. Now, the interesting things when we would like to go through such transformation is that for sure, we have a level of performance. Now, you can see in this Satir change model that we have a certain level of performance, but we would like to do better, of course. And then we start a transformation. Now, the important thing when we start this type of transformation is to not expect to have a sudden increase in our performance. This is not possible. We have to allow time to our teams, to our companies, to understand the whole idea of transformation. And then only after a certain time, we can expect the increase of the performance. So you see, we need some time in order to learn how to work in the new way, to experience the new way of working. And now this brings to our second part of the presentation. Why it's not possible to identify a recipe for this transformation, just put it in place, act exactly according to the recipe, and then bang, you have the Agile transformation. And yes, I have to disappoint you. Things are not so simple. And there is a reason for which we cannot have this recipe for transformation. And I was really looking at the annual State of Agile report. This is a document that is issued every year by version 1. The last one actually came with the challenges experienced in adopting and scaling Agile. And guess what? The challenges are the same from the last year report, so the one that from the previous year, 2018. And now I have a question for you. Francesco, I need your help again. We are going to have a poll again, which will actually ask you, what do you think that is the biggest challenge in adopting or in transforming Agile? So which do you think that is the biggest impediment in transforming Agile? It is the same for adopting and for scaling. So we have the first answers. We have again 1 minute to collect these answers. And yes, we are equal between people resistance to change and organizational culture. We have a lack of support from top management, and we also have the lack of skills and experience and lack of education and training in Agile concepts. But it's clearly two of them. Yeah. And now the poll is closed. So you can see the poll results. We have people, organization, resistance to change, and organizational culture in contradiction with Agile mindset. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me show you the results of this annual State of Agile. You can go to the website, just Google the annual State of Agile report, and you can download the whole report. It's really, really interesting if you have Agile in your companies, or if you think about adopting Agile. But let me show you, yeah, we had the poll. Let me show you what the report says. The third is the inadequate management support. So you were in full alignment with this. This is the third main challenge. 44% considered it. Now, yes, sorry. And the second one was the general organization resistance to change. And as you can imagine, so the organizational culture, which is in contradiction with the Agile mindset, was actually the most important impediment organizations encountered. So you were pretty close as an audience, and thank you very much for contributing to this presentation. The truth is that when we think about organizational culture, there is a definition which says that it's a set of values, norms, and standards that control how employees work in an organization. A simple definition would be, how do we do things around here? That would be the simple explanation for what culture means. And the truth is that we have to consider this culture, because if we are not able to manage it, to control it, then it will destroy any of our attempt to an organizational change. And now just to show you what is going to be the focus of tomorrow's webinar is to show you one of the models. There are several cultural models that we can refer. The one that I propose to you is Schneider culture model. And this has some axes that we need to consider. Cultures that are reality oriented, so focus on what is happening now, and cultures that are possibility oriented, looking into the future for what is possible. And on the other hand, we have cultures that are more interested in people, they're in the social aspects, and cultures that are interested in the benefits that we can offer to the companies. Now, based on these axes, we have the collaboration type of culture, where the success is to put a collection of people together, to build these people in a team, and trusting them that they will fully apply what is required for themselves and the company. There are a few negative behaviors that are correlated with this culture. For example, status and rank take a backseat in this type of culture. We also have the control culture. Here, emotions, subjectivity, and soft concepts are not of interest at all. Here we talk about empiricism and systematic examination of facts. These are highly valued. And in this type of culture, decision making is highly detached and impersonal. We also have the cultivation culture, which is about growing people, about giving them a purpose. So it's a very nice type of culture, of course. And we have the competence culture, where being superior is the best thing. Here in this culture, we have an interesting combination between possibility and rationalism. So definitely here, the fundamental values are knowledge and information. Emotional consideration, no, they are not important. Now, tomorrow, I will share with you cases of companies in different type of cultures who started an agile implementation. And we are going to talk about cultural differences between nations, and example of an agile transformation in this context. We are going to talk about cultural differences within the organization, so at the organizational level, and I will give you an example of a competence culture-based organization and what happened when they started this agile transformation. And in the end, I will give you an example of a personal level. So how a person can deal with agility for his or her own project. Now, this is going to be the plan for tomorrow. And now I give back the mic to Francesco.
Thank you, Simona. Thank you for this interesting presentation today, and we are really excited for tomorrow. We are looking forward to hear you tomorrow. So we have just 1 minute, so unfortunately we'll not be able to answer the question. There was a couple in the chat. We will take it offline and maybe we try to answer tomorrow. As you can see, the series continue tomorrow with Simona again, and then during this week on Friday with Tiziano Villa, and also next week. So please register to the session you want to attend. Thank you very much for joining this webinar and having your lunch break with the Northern Italy chapter. Wish you a great day and see you tomorrow for the second part. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.